Hey Glam Fam, it's my daughter Alexandria.
Hi.
And myself Linwood, and today we're going to be showing you a braiding tutorial. Now to save on time, I've already shampooed, conditioned, and blow dried out this hair, which you guys can see she has a lot of. So we are going to basically get down into the nitty gritty. So I'm going to be using a rat tail comb, a metal tip rat tail. I prefer these because you can get cleaner part lines with them. I'll be using a few butterfly clips like these, and I'll also be using some duckbill clips like these here. From there, in terms of while I'm braiding it, I'm going to be using a bit of the 48-hour edge control by Ebin, just to kind of help smooth down those edges as I braid, and you guys will see exactly what I'm talking about. So without any further ado, we will just jump right in. Okay? Alright, so we're going to begin just by going ahead and parting off from ear to ear. So Zan, tilt that head back some for me, please. So we'll part from ear, just behind the ear here, through the crown of the head, not through the apex, which is a bit higher. Turn. Thank you. And to just behind the other ear on the opposite side. Now for those who are always asking me about like parting tutorials and things like that, part of the reason why I use a comb like this is because with the tip on it, I'm able to get a fantastic, smooth, clean part line with minimal effort, and then I can just go back and easily clean up my lines anywhere that I see that's not quite like I want it. From there, I'm gonna go ahead and pin this front half of the hair out of the way, like so. Now in this back half, tilt the head all the way down for me, Zan. There we go. This back half, I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna bring this hair up into two ponytails, right at the high points of the head, right there, okay? So, here and here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and part along that line, bring it all the way down to the opposite corner. So just parting from here, all the way down to the opposite side, like you guys can see right there. The rest of this hair, I'm gonna go ahead and pin up and out of my way, just like so. Then this is where my duck bills come in, just to ensure that no little flyaways I don't want in there get in there. I'm gonna go ahead and pin right along that part line, and that's gonna ensure that just the area that I'm working on gets braided into the braid. Now you guys can see she's got all these little curls and things in here where we did not blow dry that perfectly smooth. So this is where my edge control comes in, which by the way, this one is the 48-hour edge tamer by Ebin. So I'm gonna go ahead and take just a very small amount of that, and we're just gonna lightly place that around that outer edge, making sure to focus it pretty heavily on those finer, shorter hairs, or as many would call quote-unquote baby hairs. But some of these are a little too long. Those aren't baby hairs, those are grown hairs.
No.
They're about ready to go to college.
I'm not ready to go to college.
You're about to be kicked out of the house.
No, I'm not.
Alright, tilt that head down. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and comb that smooth right along there. And that way it stays as one solid unit. And then what I'm going to do, let me place my comb there, is I'm gonna go ahead and braid going on up like this. Now the key things that you wanna remember here is that you're going to be cornrowing on this side that's up higher. And on this side here, I want a very clean, precise part line, so I'm gonna be doing more of a Dutch braid, which by the way, if you need to know the difference between the two, I do have braiding tutorials on them both. So I'm gonna start off with a really small section of hair, because the smaller that you start out, the more professional those braids look when you're done. I'm going to just begin braiding right along that edge. Now I'm keeping my top hand fixed above this part line because I want to make sure my braid pretty much rests on the part line there. And then basically when I say I'm Dutch braiding on one side and cornrowing on the other, what I'm telling you is on the bottom side, I'm making sure that I'm getting my part lines nice and clean, so that way as I braid, you can kind of see those lines in there. Whereas on the top side, I'm not thinking about how much hair I pick up or any of that, because honestly, I just want to make sure that it stays flat along that part line. So I'm going to braid right along there just like that. All right, so we'll go ahead and continue this process. Make sure that you are, no matter how much this bottom hand moves, your top hand stays above the part line, and that way it will help to kind of keep everything centralized and focused on exactly where it needs to be. Bring that chin up some, please. There we go, perfect. And we're just gonna follow that process all the way on up until I'm at the end of that braid. Alright you guys, so once you have done that first braid, which you guys can see is a pretty good sized braid in there, you're going to go ahead, take out all of your clips. My very next braid is going to be a very small braid. Now I see a lot of people try to do this and they think of it as like a normal size cornrow. I want you to think of it as like a micro cornrow. So I want to be able to see the tip of my comb parting through that space all the way through there. So I mean, we're doing a very, very tiny part line. Now this one is going to be just a standard cornrow. The only difference is my parting is incredibly small. So I will say, if you are not an avid braider, you're gonna have a little bit more of a difficult time with this, because you've got to make sure that your section is incredibly clean, and you have to make sure that you are not picking up too much hair as you braid. So I would recommend exercising some control while you braid. Zandri, let's focus. And that way you can ensure that you have a small enough amount of hair and that your braid isn't coming loose. So let me go ahead and tilt you forward, and we're going to cornrow this section all the way across, remembering to pick up incredibly small sections, because I want to make sure that this braid is very, very neat. So we're just going to continue through this process of braiding that all the way out, just like I did the last section. Hold on, I've got a slight knot here. And then from there, we'll just continue right on forward like we've done on the other one. So we'll continue on just like that. Making sure, now this is one where you keep it from tangling up. People ask me all the time, every few steps, drag your fingers through, and that way it's not going to cause it to tangle and knot up as bad on the ends, especially if you have a client or a child with tangle prone hair like my daughter's here. So we're just going to go ahead and continue this process all the way throughout here, and you guys can see how neat that is looking by having that part line be so minimalistic. Okay. So just continue that braid all the way up to where I stopped the last one. Alright, now you guys can see I've got a bit of knotting here, so what I'm going to do is just lightly finger detangle some, and then I'm going to go through with my comb and lightly comb that out. I don't want to do anything too heavy. It's going to lead to breakage and all that, so that way you guys can kind of tell the difference there. Now once I've got that, I'll go ahead and pick it up, tighten just a bit, and continue braiding like I did just before we stopped to detangle. Alright, so we go ahead and keep on that. Now when I do this next portion, because I'm literally just going to be repeating these steps, I'm going to be doing it as a voiceover mode. So you guys already know me. When I'm working on little people's hair, I always have them on their Kindle Fire. I keep one up here at the salon as well, and that way I can make sure that they are distracted enough to sit very still for me while I'm working on that head of hair. So when I tell you this Kindle Fire is a lifesaver, it is a lifesaver. I'll put a link in the comment or in the description box down below for that as well. Alright you guys, so once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and come, and instead of coming up like this, which a lot of people want to do, I'm going to actually come a little bit more low and across. So I'm thinking in more triangular type shapes as I'm doing these. So low and across, then bringing up towards the end. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to help to ensure that I have a certain fluid motion to those braids. Okay. taking a bit of edge control, placing it right around that outer edge in here. That's going to help out with showing those part lines like I want them. And it's also going to help with taming these little babies right in there, so everything is where it's supposed to be. Alright, now I'm not going to put that on both sides because it would make it a bit more difficult to braid. So from here, I'm just going to braid. Like I said, I'll do voiceovers. Alright, Glam Fam, so we're just repeating this process throughout here. Now I will tell you, quick tip on the edge control is make sure that you're not overusing it. If you put too much, the hair will look dusty and it does turn a bit white. A little bit goes a very long way, so don't get crazy. And we're just continuing this same braiding process throughout this side. As we did on the opposite side, you want to make sure that your very thin braid is perfectly parallel to the thick braid. Basically, if you're doing it to where you've got a non-parallel section, it loses the neat quality to the braid. So just keep that in mind as you're parting, that you are trying to keep it as even as possible and perfectly parallel to the previous braid before you start braiding that up. Beyond that, just make sure you're picking up extremely small sections, which means your fingers are barely spaced as you braid, and you should be good to go. Do not do this too tight. Loose braid here is totally fine. Alright, Glam Fam, so this is the back completed, and now basically you guys can see, since I started out with the big piece coming into this right ponytail, I want to start out on the front side with a big piece coming into this left one. So basically what I'm going to do is turn her this way. We'll start off with one pretty large braid coming from just past the center. So basically, let me turn her around here and get this hair out of her face. We're going to be coming from this angle over here, and we're going to angle it on around and back into that ponytail, and then we'll just continue that same pattern that we did in the back in the front. Now I want to make sure I'm very specific about how I do that, because I want to make sure that it lays just right in the front as well. So hopefully you guys can kind of catch on to what I'm saying there. If not, you'll see me do it here in just a moment. Alright, so as you guys can see here, clearly I did not blow out her edges because they are still little beady bees, but that's okay. We're going to put a little bit of edge control on there, and it smooths those babies right on out, as you guys can see. So I'm doing a parting similar to what I had in the back. Those angled sections, I want to make sure they're wide zigzags, not tight zigzags. So it allows you to honestly have a bit of an easier braiding process. This style of braiding looks like it takes significantly longer than it actually does. So I hope that kind of helps with explaining that. And the nice thing is with the edge controls, that it gives you the illusion that the braid is a lot more snug and tight than it is. But in all honesty, this braid is rather loose. And I will say it does cause the grip of that hair to increase a bit. So just keep that in mind as you're braiding, that you're not pulling too tight, because the product is going to make it feel like your grip is stronger than it usually is. Which is exactly why I don't put any of the edge control on the small braids, because I just don't want to do anything to cause a large degree of tension to a very small amount of hair. From there, we're just going to continue that same pattern and process on the opposite side. You guys can see I'm just kind of laying that edge control on there, and then I'll comb through that and just continue the braiding process all the way throughout, just like we've been doing throughout the rest of the head. And from there, you should be pretty good to go. Alright, Glam Fam, so now that we're finished with the braids, which we just kind of continued that pattern all the way throughout the head, so you guys can kind of see here, anywhere where there's a big braid, there's a small one by it, and we just continue that pattern all the way throughout. So I'm going to go ahead and band this off with a hair tie. These are the ones without the metal band in them, because we don't want to cause any breakage to this hair. And you want to make sure to get it pretty snug. So if I feel like I have to force it with going around, I'm just going to stop there. And from there, I'm going to go ahead and take another hair tie here and apply it to this side. It feels snug enough. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is actually just take this hair and we're going to wrap it around into a bun. Just like so. And then from there, we'll just go ahead and insert some hairpins right on into those buttons. Now, if you'd rather wear that hair down, you could do it down, but I would rather it be up so that way it's less to worry with, like so. So from there, we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. Alrighty, so here is from the back. Hold still, baby, head straight. There's from the back, and we'll go ahead and turn her around to the front. There's from the front. And Zan, what do you think, boo?
I think it's cute and adorable.
You think it's cute and adorable. Okay, wonderful. So I'm gonna have her hop on down, and that way I can show you guys up close. All right, so here's from the front. And Zan, can you turn for me, please? There we go. There's the side. Turn again. There's the back. And one more time. There's the other side, y'all. So, Zan, can you do their send-off and tell them all the stuff they're supposed to say? What do we always say at the end of every video?
Bye, Glam, and stay glam.
Very good. All right, you have anything you want to say to them?
Have a very happy new year.
All right, that's very sweet, Zan.
And enjoy the video. As much as you like it, you can click the card box down below.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. You guys heard the lady. Ah! You guys heard her. So if you like it, then go ahead and click the thumbs up down below. Take care. God bless. Stay glam. And I've got some more clients to do today, so we're not done for the day, but we're done on this one. So you guys have a wonderful day. Bye-bye, you guys. Stay glam.
Bye-bye.